It's a lot of people's favourite wine, I think rightly so.
Welcome to Wine List. Today we're talking about Malbec. Isabelle, it's been actually a long time since I've had any Malbec. Tell me about Malbec. Is it a grape? Is it a region?
We finally got the answer where it's the grape variety. So it's not a region. You can get Malbec from all over the world, really. I've not had a Malbec in ages either. It's one of those wines, because it's so popular, you almost, when you work in wine, you almost think, oh yeah, I know Malbec, I'll just go to the weirder ones. But it's such a classic, it's so nice to go back to it.
Absolutely. And they do call them classics for a reason. So what is the kind of classic Malbec style?
Ooh, okay, well, classic Malbec is, it's a very dark grape variety. So it's lots of sort of black fruits, lots of cherry, lots of brambles, black currant, but you also get some nice red fruits in there too. It's very, very juicy basically. And you can make it into very, very different things depending on where you're growing it really. So in France, which is where Malbec came from, they grow it in the very south of France and it feels a bit earthier, a bit rougher, a bit more rustic. But then you also have Malbec as part of the blend in Bordeaux, which is very sort of French wine, very dry, less fruity. But then they took cuttings of Malbec over to South America in the 1800s, like they did with most grape varieties that you have over in America, all of them really. They came from Europe on a boat at some point, they planted them, and then Malbec did really, really well in Argentina.
And what is it about Argentina that suits Malbec so well?
Argentina's got a really great landscape for growing this wine because it's got it's really, really hot, which is what you need. That's why you only grow Malbec in the south of France where it's hot. Argentina is perfect for that everywhere. And then there's the Andes mountain ranges as well, so you can get different things out of those. So they've got different elevations, so if you're going sort of lower down the mountain, it's going to be juicier, jammier, fruitier, and you go higher up the mountain to high altitude, it can feel like this really fresh Malbec. And mountains and sunshine are like the two perfect things for wine. That's exactly what you need. And rain.
Fantastic. So in France, where it's from, it's Cahors, which is the kind of big region typically, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got one from Languedoc today instead, which is a bit more southerly. So what would you kind of pair a Malbec with? What kind of foods do you pair it with?
Malbec, everyone knows that when you go to a steak restaurant, there's always going to be at least like 5 wines on that wine list, which are going to be an Argentinian Malbec, because Malbec and steak is just a match made in heaven. Because you've got some lovely, lovely tannins inside a Malbec. Tannin and anything sort of fatty and salty works perfectly together. So it just sits really nicely. You've also got fuller body than most wines. You've got darker colour, bigger, fuller flavours, and that's matching up to all the flavour of a steak as well.
Fantastic. And reputation-wise, has it got what's the kind of traditional reputation for Malbec?
I think because there's just so many Malbecs in the world, you can get so many rubbish ones. Just because of how many there are, it's like a ratio. So it can have a bit of a bad reputation sometimes. Some people in the wine industry think Malbec's just the boring one, but there can be so many amazing Malbecs. You can do really wonderful things with Malbec. They age really well as well and become really sort of full and complex and wonderful. So Malbec's a lot of people's favourite wine, and I think rightly so.
Fantastic. Well, let's have a taste of these two. I don't believe I've tasted either of these two before. Have you had either of these before?
I've not, no, and I have to guess prices.
Yeah, price point. So first we've got Le Malbec de Balthazar, which is for the Pays d'Oc one, the very south of France, and it's a 2019.
Yeah, so Pays d'Oc is, if you want to get like a good value for money French wine, I always go Pays d'Oc. It's just the very, very south of France, basically. So it's actually not that far away from Cahors. So you can, this is tricky because Pays d'Oc can make amazing wines, but they're usually less expensive than other wines in France. But depending on the producer.
Yeah, it's biggest wine producing region in France, I believe. And this other one is from Mendoza, which is the kind of classic, isn't it, of Argentinian Malbec. Fantastic. Well, let's kind of have a taste.
They look really similar in colour. Yeah, really similar, very purpley. Oh, it smells very lovely. Ooh. Okay, so you can tell the French one.
It's got a bit of that kind of drier, it's less fruity almost, do you think? Or
No, I think almost. I think it's got a French oak aging.
Yeah.
So when you have French oak aging, it's basically just an oak tree that's grown in France and turned into a barrel. But it always makes wines smell a bit more creamy, vanilla.
Yes.
It's that sort of, that smell to it.
That's a good blind tasting trick. If it's creamy and vanilla, you know it's probably French.
It's probably French.
Or has some French oak.
Or just a French barrel somewhere else in the world.
Somewhere else in the world.
Can be tricky. Oh, that's lovely. You can definitely tell, yeah, French barrel though. And if it's an American oak aging, it's more sort of caramel, which I would expect from this one.
A lot of fruit on that. It's almost a bit kind of brighter than I imagined it would be, I think.
Are you talking about the Argentinian one?
No, I haven't had the Argentinian one yet. The French one almost feels kind of... It feels kind of lighter than I was expecting, not quite... I was expecting something really kind of quite heavy from it, and it was not kind of quite got there for me.
Which is what I like. If you have it from Cahors, that's usually much heavier, much earthier. But I think this Pays d'Oc one, it's really nice. It's really easy drinking.
Yeah, really easy drinking.
One of those ones where you could have a very, very large glass of it. But that Argentinian one, that feels a lot more gritty, earthy. I feel like it has more flavour and more sort of herbaceousness, tobacco, maybe not quite tobacco.
Yeah, there's a bit of kind of greenness to it, isn't there?
I'm dipping into tobacco and thinking, oh no, I don't think it's as expensive as getting tobacco flavours yet. Price point.
Yeah, so you're that's already steering your price point guesses as well.
Yeah. Basically, the more flavours I'm getting, the more complex it is, the more of a price I'm going to add onto it.
Yeah, I think they're both still quite fruit forward.
Yeah.
I think the Argentinian one probably got a little bit stepping outside of that maybe.
Yeah.
But not much. I don't think there's doesn't feel like a huge kind of difference between them.
No, this is really hard in price point wise. They're both so different and I really like both, but I would have the Argentinian one with a steak. It needs a savoury meal, that one. It feels more savoury.
Yeah.
But that French one, that French oak aging, making it vanilla-y, I could just sit and drink that. I am going to judge it as well on their label. Am I allowed to do that? Yeah.
I think, the label's there for a reason.
Yeah, you meant to judge a book by its cover. I think that's the phrase. The shape of the bottle, flavours. I think the French Malbec, it's got a bit of aging in barrel 2019. Oh, this is so tricky. I'm going to say, I want to say between 9.50 and 11.
Okay.
I'm going to say 10.
For the
For the French
10,
one.
Yeah, okay.
Between 9.50 and 11, we'll go 10. And the Argentinian one, I was expecting more complexity from it. And because it doesn't have that much complexity, I'm going to go a bit lower in price. Are they really similar in price?
I can't tell you that.
Okay. I'm going to say, I think they're really similar in terms of quality. I would pay the same price for both of them.
Okay.
Usually, land in France can be a bit expensive sometimes, but it's from the south, so that balances it out. I'm going to say 10 for French, 11 for Argentinian.
Which do you prefer?
If we were having a meal right now, I'd have the Argentinian, but otherwise I'd just sit and sip the French one. It's just an easier going one.
So prices are, for the French one, £8.69.
Really?
And for the Argentine, £8.99.
Wow, I went way too high.
So only 40 pence difference between them.
I really liked both of them.
And quite a bit cheaper. I think the Mendoza for me really does steal it. I think that is still kind of very, it's a bit of vanilla, a bit of kind of some dried herbs maybe. For Mendoza, I kind of quite like that greeniness to it. It's
It feels savoury, this one.
Yeah.
It feels like you'd pour that in a casserole, it would make the casserole better.
Exactly. It's why I like Cab Franc, this one. It's kind of got that slight, I know obviously there's no sameness to it, but it's got that kind of greenness to it, which I really like.
Yeah, green, herbaceous.
Nice. Well, this has been Malbec. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers.